Hey there, and welcome back to ClearPath Conversations. I'm Mark Bernardin. If you've been following along through this Path to Green mini-series, we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about what a path to green actually is. We've walked through how to write a get well plan that people will actually read and act on. And in our last episode, we tackled internal alignment. That's getting sales, support, product, and leadership all on the same page before you even pick up the phone with your customer. Now, today we're closing out this mini-series with something that often gets overlooked, and that's how to tell the turnaround story. Because here's the thing, if you do all that hard work to rescue an at-risk account, but nobody knows about it, did it really happen? I'm not talking about bragging. I'm not talking about taking credit that belongs to your team. I'm talking about strategic storytelling that protects your credibility, reinforces customer confidence, and also documents impact in a way that really matters. This episode is about two audiences: your customer and your internal stakeholders. So we're going to talk about how to narrate the journey from red to green in a way that builds trust, creates advocates, and also sets you up for long-term success. So let's get into it. When you successfully turn around an at-risk account, you're not just saving revenue. You're creating a case study. You're building a reputation. You're proving that your process works. But if you don't tell that story well, or worse, if you don't tell it at all, you miss the opportunity to leverage it. Internally, your leadership needs to see that you didn't just get lucky. They need to understand that the methodology that you used, the challenges that you overcame, and why this outcome is repeatable. That's how you earn credibility, autonomy, and also the resources for the next fire that you're going to need to fight. Externally, your customer needs to see the journey as well, not because they need a pat on the back, but because they need to understand what changed, why it matters, and what their role was in making everything happen. That clarity builds confidence. It reinforces their decision to stay, and it gives them language that they can use when they talk to their own leadership about your product. The turnaround story isn't self-promotion. It's strategic communication. And if you don't control the narrative, someone else will. Or worse, nobody will. And the hard work that you just did is going to fade into the background. So let's talk about how to do this correctly. Let's start first with your internal audience, your CS leadership, your account executive, your support team, maybe even product and engineering if they were involved in the turnaround. These people need to know three things. First, what was broken? Second, what you did to fix it? And third, what the outcome was. Simple, right? But here's where most CSMs go wrong. They either oversimplify or they overcomplicate. If you oversimplify, you say something like, the account was red, we fixed it, now it's green. Great. Tells me nothing. I don't know what you did. I don't know what I can learn from it. And I definitely don't know if this was skill or luck. Now, if you overcomplicate, you write a 5-page recap with every meeting note, every stakeholder conversation, every tiny tweak that you made along the way. And nobody's reading that. Even if they do, they're not going to remember the key takeaways. So here's the framework that I use for internal storytelling. Start with the problem, but make it specific. Don't say things like, the customer was unhappy. Say, we had a VP level champion leave the company, no executive visibility for 6 months. Adoption dropped to 22%, and the customer was evaluating some competitors. That gives context. It shows severity, and it makes the rest of the story more impactful. Then explain your approach. Not every detail, just the strategy. I built a 60-day get-well plan with 3 focus areas: reestablishing executive alignment, driving a usage recovery campaign with their IT team, and creating a quarterly business review cadence to give them visibility into their ROI. Notice that I didn't list every email I sent or every call that I had. I just described the plan. That's what people need to understand. Not the noise, just the signal. Finally, show the outcome and tie it back to business impact. Within 60 days, we had an executive champion. Adoption climbed back to 68%. And they renewed early at 110% of their original contract value. That's a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And more importantly, it's repeatable. Someone else on your team can look at that and say, okay, I see what Mark did. I can apply that framework to my own Red account. Now, here's the critical part. Document this somewhere that matters. Don't just tell it verbally in a team meeting and move on. Put it in your CRM. Add it to your internal wiki or knowledge base, whatever. Create a one-pager that lives in a shared folder so other CSMs can see it and can reference it. Because the goal isn't just to tell your story once. The goal is to build institutional knowledge. You want your methodology to outlive your individual involvement. Now let's talk about the external side. How you tell this story to your customer. This is where a lot of CSMs get uncomfortable. They think, if I bring up how bad things were, won't that remind the customer of the pain? Won't that make them question whether they should have stayed? No. If you do this right, it does exactly the opposite. And here's why. Your customer already knows that things were bad. They were there. They lived through it. Pretending it doesn't happen doesn't build confidence. It creates awkwardness. What builds confidence is showing them that you solved the problem. that you owned the solution, and that you delivered results. So in your next executive business review, you're going to dedicate some time, maybe even a slide or a section of a slide, to the turnaround. Here's the structure I use. Slide title could be Our Journey from Challenge to Momentum. Then break it into 3 parts. 1, where we started. Use simple, factual language. No drama, no finger pointing. 6 months ago, we were facing 3 major challenges. Executive turnover on your side, low adoption across your security operations team, and limited visibility into ROI at the leadership level. That's it. You're not blaming anyone. You're just stating facts. Number 2 is what we did together. This is where you emphasize partnership, not what I did, but what we did. We worked together to build a targeted plan. You connected us with your new CISO, your team committed to a weekly adoption check-in, and we restructured our quarterly reviews to give your leadership the metrics that they needed to see value. Notice the language. We worked together. You connected us. Your team committed. This isn't about being a hero. It's about acknowledging their role in the recovery. And then number 3 is where we are today, current state. Show the results and be specific. Use numbers. Today, adoption is at 68%, up from 22%. Your SOC team is using our platform for 90% of their phishing investigations. And based on the ROI model we built together, you're saving an estimated $340,000 annually in incident response time. That's a story that builds confidence. It shows momentum. It reminds your champion why they fought to keep you. And it gives them ammo when they talk to their CFO or their CEO about why renewing was the right call. One more thing. End that section by looking forward. We're proud of how far we've come together, and we're committed to building on this momentum. In the next quarter, we're focused on expanding adoption into your compliance team and exploring how we can support your upcoming audit cycle. That positions the turnaround as a foundation and not a finish line. You're not saying, oh, we're done, we fixed it. You're saying, we're just getting started, and here's what's next. Now, let me call out a few pitfalls that I've seen over and over. Mistake number 1 is waiting too long to tell the story, or also telling it too early. Some CSMs think that they need to wait until everything is perfect before they acknowledge the turnaround. So they'll wait 6 months, a year, and by then the moment's passed. The executive who cared has moved on, the urgency is gone, and the impact feels less real. But here's the flip side. Tell the story too early, and you risk undermining your credibility if momentum stalls. I've seen CSMs celebrate a turnaround after one good month, only to watch the account slip back into red the next quarter. Now, Now you're explaining why the story you told didn't hold up. So when do you actually tell it? Here are the milestone triggers that I use. For internal storytelling, tell it when you've maintained improvement for 60 days minimum. That's 2 full billing cycles, 2 months of usage data, 2 monthly check-ins. If the account has stayed stable or improved across that window, you've got a pattern. That's not a blip. For customer-facing EBRs, wait until you've had 3 consecutive touch points, whether that's 3 QBRs, 3 monthly check-ins, or 3 executive syncs, showing sustained improvement across those. That will give you a trend line. You can point to multiple data points then and say, this isn't luck, this is momentum. For things like case studies or public storytelling, don't even think about it until you've hit a renewal or an expansion milestone. If the customer renewed early, if they bought additional licenses, or if they expanded into a new department, that's your proof point. That's when the story is locked in. And here's the key. If you're not sure whether you've hit the milestone, you haven't. It's better to wait another few weeks, maybe a month, and tell a stronger story than to jump the gun and have to walk it back later on. Momentum is the story, but only if it's sustained momentum. Now, mistake number 2 is making it about you instead of the customer. And I get it. You did a lot of work. You stayed up late. You fought internal battles. You deserve recognition. But when you're telling the story to your customer, it can't be about you. It has to be about them, about their team, about their results. Save the look what I did version for your internal team. For your customer, the story is, look what you accomplished and how we supported you along the way. Now, mistake number 3 is ignoring the people who helped. If your account executive made a pricing concession that ended up saving the deal, say so. If your support team went above and beyond to fix a critical bug, acknowledge them. If your product team fast-tracked a feature that unlocked adoption, give them credit. You don't lose anything by sharing the spotlight. In fact, you gain credibility. Because when you acknowledge the people who contributed, you show that you understand how the business actually works. You're not a lone wolf. You're someone who knows how to rally a team. Okay, so you've told the story internally. You've told the story to your customer through the EBR. Now what? Don't let it die there. Your story has legs. Use it. Use it for things like case studies. If your customer is willing, turn this into a formal case study. Work with your marketing team to document the challenge, the solution, and the outcome. That becomes an asset that your sales team can use to close new deals. And if your customer isn't ready for a public case study, at least document it internally as a rescue playbook that other CSMs can reference. You could also use it for onboarding new team members. When you're training a new CSM or bringing someone up to speed on your accounts, walk them through this story. Show them the before, the during, and the after. Let them really see what a turnaround looks like in practice. That's how you build a culture of accountability and strategic thinking on your team. And you can also use it for your own career development. Add this to your performance review. Add it to your LinkedIn. Add it to your personal portfolio if you're building one. You're not bragging. You're documenting impact. And that matters when you're going after a promotion, a new role, or a consulting gig. Here's what I want you to take away from this episode. The turnaround story isn't optional. It's not extra. It's not something you do if you have time. It's how you build trust with your customer and credibility with your team and confidence in your own process. When you tell the story well, when you're honest about where you started, clear about what you did, and specific about the results, you're not just celebrating a win. You're creating a foundation for everything that comes next. Because customers don't just want to know that you fixed the problem. They want to know that you understand the journey, that you were there, that you saw them through it. And when they believe that, when they really believe it, they become advocates. They renew early. They expand. They refer you to other departments. They tell your story to their peers. That's the power of strategic storytelling. And that's why you can't afford to skip this step. So here's what I want you to do after this episode. If you've recently turned around an at-risk account, just take 30 minutes and document the story. Use the framework that I gave you: problem, approach, outcome. Put it somewhere that your team can see it. And if you haven't presented it to your customer yet, put it on the agenda for your next EBR. And if you're not there yet, if you're still in the middle of your turnaround, start thinking about how you'll tell the story when the time comes. What were the key turning points? Who made a difference? What metrics are you going to use to show progress? You don't have to wait until it's over to start shaping the narrative. The story starts now. So that wraps up the Path to Green miniseries. Over these 4 episodes, we've covered the full life cycle, understanding what a path to green is, writing a get well plan that people will actually read, getting internal alignment before you engage the customer, and now telling the turnaround story in a way that builds trust and drives long-term success. If you missed any of those episodes, go back and listen. They build on each other. And if you want the companion templates, checklists, or frameworks that I mentioned throughout the series, head on over to clearpathcx.com where you can grab any of those resources. In the next episode, we're going to be starting a new mini-series on executive business reviews. We're going to talk about how to prepare for your first EBR without burning out, how to structure the presentation, and how to deliver it with confidence, even if you're nervous. Until then, grab the resources over at clearpathcx.com, follow the show on your favorite platform, and connect with me over on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Mark Bernardin. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. And thank you for showing up and delivering every single day. I'll talk to you soon.